everyone, it's Daphne and we're still working on Fairy Wings. We're on to page 8 now, and page 8 is going to be the same as page 1. So you're going to start out with two 8.5 by 8 inch. So it's 8.5 by 8 inches tall. You're going to score it 1/2 inch and 4.5 inches. You're going to fold this over on itself. And you're going to fold the tab over, and you're going to make sure that this closes without a bubble. And as you can see, this is not. So what I need to do to fix that is open it back up, lay it in my trimmer, and trim a slight bit off that edge. Okay, let's see how I did. I'm gonna fold that over, and now it's laying flat. It's not, there's no bubble. So that's what we're striving for. I'm gonna do the same thing on this one. Okay, and see that lays flat, so that's what we're looking for. Now we're going to adhere these to this pocket page, and let me open this up. So the pocket page, the pocket and the side that attaches to the hinge are on the left and right, and these two double flaps are going to get adhered to the open edges of this pocket page like so. Okay, here's one. And because I want these to meet in the middle, I am going to, actually I'm going to burnish that a little bit. I'm going to push this down a little bit, and then I'm going to marry the two scored edges up and then dropped the adhesive down on the page. And that way I know these two are lined and it looks nice and neat. Now if I just tried to square it off here, you know, you could wind up with a little overhang or a tag or whatever. So I like to square it off the center. Your eye is going to be drawn to the center, not to the edge. So if you have any alignment issues, you want to push them to the outside edge of the page, not to the center. Okay, so that is page 8. So now it's time to decorate. And it looks like I got a little tab here that I'm going to go ahead and hand trim off. And then we will start decorating this. So I'll be right back with my papers. Hey everyone, it's Daphne, and we are working on page 8 of Fairy Wings. And page 8 is like page 1, and I've got my A-side covers laid out here, but I want to remind you what we're doing. In order to keep all of this closed, we're going to use this flap. And the way I made the flap is you're going to use the pocket from the pocket and tag die. You're going to trim out a black piece or whatever color your base album is using this die, and then you're going to trim off these two edges. And once you do that, you're going to have this. Okay, so there's a perforated mark right here. You're not going to fold on that. You're going to lie this down in your scoreboard, and you're going to come across and score at 1 3/8, 1 3/8, and that's going to become the flap that attaches to the inside to hold these two pieces in place. Okay, so don't score at the perforation. Lay it down in your scoreboard and score at 1 3/8, and then we are going to attach it to the inside of the page, and then when these are closed, we'll have a magnet behind this, and it's going to hold everything in place just like so. So with that, I am going to find my center line here just so I can rough estimate where it goes. And I've missed, here it is. So 4 and 4. So there's my center line. And then we get the center line of this tag. And it turns out that it's 1 3/4 inches in is the center line. We're going to line up those two tick marks. We're going to close this, and we're going to make sure that the flap will come up and around. I did not double score this. That's an option. If you want to make sure it comes up and over these, is you could put a second score line. You could score at 1 3/8 and 1 1/4, and just have that extra little bit of a gusset to make sure it comes around the two flaps. I did not do that. I just did a single score line, but it is an option. But before we move forward, I don't want to glue it in yet. Because I'm going to use this die to make a mat to go on top of this, I want to make sure that the corners are rounded. So I'm going to do that before I lay it down. And I should have done that before I added my tape, but I didn't, so I'm going to trim that, smooth that out with my scissors. And I'll do this one more time. Okay. Very sticky. So I should have done that before I added my tape, and it would have trimmed a lot smoother. So now I'm ready to lay it in. So let's get the pick tool. And I am going to add glue to the top of my tape, which buys me a little time as far as getting it into place. Lets me make some adjustments without having to lift it off the page. Okay, now I've got, oops, made a little bit of a mess. I've got a tick mark here and one on the center. So I'm going to use that to help me at least initially line it up. I'm not going to press it firmly into place until I'm sure it's where I want it. Okay, that looks good. Okay, that's it. Now we're going to add some magnets to keep this closed. I've got a couple magnets, and I'm only going to apply magnets to one side, one panel. I don't think you need one on each side. You can do that, but I think it's probably not required. And no point in using extra magnets if you don't need to. I just need to make sure, I'm hesitating because I want to make sure that when I lay it over that the tape is far enough away from the edge here that I don't have to worry about it being exposed out from under the mat. Okay. I need to shorten that a little so it doesn't stick out. Okay, that should do it. Okay, and then of course this will be covered with a custom mat using the die, but I'm not ready to cover it right now. But I do have these two A-sides trimmed out, and we are going to use this beautiful bubble paper. And I did the same thing that I did on page 1, where I took an 8x8 pattern, and I just think the scale works a little bit better. But I took the 8x8 pattern and I trimmed it down to 7 7/8, and then I trimmed off 3 7/8 for my first panel, and then I did 3 7/8 for my second panel. But it's best to dry fit as you go. And then I split it in half, so I trimmed 3 7/8, and then I went 3 7/8 this way, so there's a continuous pattern. So you don't have to do that. I just like the look of it. I think I've already inked it, and I have. So let's go ahead and get some glue on here, and we'll lay this in. Okay, and just as a reminder, we're on page 8. We are working on page 8. All right. Okay, and this is gonna hold everything in place like so. So we need to choose something to cover this, and I want to do something kind of peachy because if you recall, I'll pull it in real quick. The inside liners have a lot of peach in it. So this is going to be page 8. And in order to kind of create more of a flow, I think by pulling in more peach here, that's really going to help us do that. So I kind of like this, and then the other option, I don't really like this because that's too matchy-matchy. The other option would be, there's another peach from the Patterns and Solids, I think. Yeah. So we could use the butterflies, the flowers, and I actually like this better. I think this looks more pink than peach. And then the last option would be to do something solid, and I'm not liking that very much. So I think I'm gonna go with these flowers. So I'm gonna die cut that real quick, and then we're gonna lay that, I think I'm gonna lay that in. I think I like it. All right, just a second. I've gotta kind of shuffle a few things to get my machine here. And then let's find the die. Okay, so we're just gonna cut one of these out. We're gonna ink it and lay it down, and you'll see it looks really pretty. And you will see in the end that the this maps on top of the pocket just perfectly. I love the Sizzix, but man, it's heavy. Okay, so here is page 8, and then here is the piece that I've trimmed out to go right here. And it's gonna look like so, and I like it. I'm gonna ink it, and we're gonna glue it down. Takes a little effort to get into all the corners, but I like it. Okay. Looks lovely. Okay, so that's a different way to use the tag and pocket die instead of just using it as a pocket and a tag. So you could use it as just a flap with its matted piece in there. So I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. Okay, so that is it for the A side on page 8. Now we're going to get started on the insides. And I'm not going to choose a mat for this until I get the rest of this laid in, okay? All right, so let me do some trimming and inking, and I'll be right back. Okay, everyone, we're going to continue working on page 8. I'm trying to move my chair. It wasn't budging. So we're on the inside of page 8, and I've got most of my pieces, I think, laid out. Got so much stuff on my desk, it's kind of hard to concentrate. So we're going to use this for the centerpiece, and when I say this is from the 8x8 collection pack. You can tell it's the smaller pattern but I'm gonna verify that real quick. What's on the flip side? Green. Trying to find, yes, so there's the larger pattern. So this is from the 8x8 collection. And then I've also used, I'm gonna continue the pattern, and I'm using the 8x8 here. The stripe is from the 12x12 collection pack. And this is patterns and solids. So the green is patterns and solids. All the peach bubbles are from the 8x8, and the stripe is from the 12x12 collection pack. Okay, we're gonna start by laying in the centerpiece. Actually, let's start by laying this down. I hadn't covered the back. Here's my glue. Get that down before I lose it. I don't know what I did with my pick tool. I don't see it. Here it is. Here it is. Oh, I think I cracked my knuckle on something. Or paper cut it, one of the two. Anyway, here we go. So we're winding down on this project. And my next project, I believe, it's possible it could change, but usually Julie decides which papers I'm gonna work on next. And for the moment, I believe I'm gonna go to work on a Stamperia Little Girl album. And we've had some requests for that. So, by the way, if there's something you guys want to see and it's a paper we carry, drop us a line either at contact@Scrap and Create or anywhere on our you can send us a message via the website or on YouTube. So any one of those avenues, and we will add it to our list. And we don't get to everything for sure, but we'll definitely give it a shot. Okay, so I'm gonna put the green side down, and then I'm gonna use the bubbles on the left and right. So it's just the flip side of the bubbles. And again, this is the 8x8 collection pad. Okay, now I am going to lie these down, and I think I need to trim them. So let's set that aside, and let's see. Yeah, I do. So because these, and I mentioned this on page 1, but because these fold over on each other, that means there's a score on both sides, which the score takes up a fraction of an inch on either side. So that means this panel is not going to be 4 inches. It's going to be something less. So it's best if you trim it to fit. I pre-cut these to 4 inches, and then I trim down to fit. Otherwise, you're just not going to be happy with the result. And then again, this is going to be a little bit smaller because in order for this to fold over on itself, we had to trim a little bit off that edge. So keep that in mind when you're trimming your papers. Okay, that looks good. Okay, I took a little bit off the height. Let's get my ink out. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to scoot it over and we're going to do the same thing on this side. And we need to trim it to fit. Give that a shot. Okay, let's see. I'm not sure I got enough off. As soon as I pulled it away, I realized it was a little... Nope, it's gonna work. Okay, and I'm gonna check the height real quick. If you like the amount of border that I'm working with, I'm using a 1/16 inch, which means you need to make the panel an 1/8 inch shorter and an 1/8 inch narrower. And then when you center it, you get a 1/16 inch border. That's what I'm doing throughout the album. Some people like to have a bigger border. There we go. All right, lovely. I think that's very pretty. Of course, that's going to hold everything in place, but I'm just going to put it there for the moment so it's out of the way. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to lay these in. So this, I just think this is such a pretty pattern. I wanted to use it again. Is going to go this side up, and we definitely need to trim it. And I think I want... Sorry, I'm going to use a piece of green paper here so I can see the edge. You know what? I need to double check my measurement. I'm not feeling good, not feeling confident. So I'm going to go ahead and mark both sides. This is the one, because it folds over on itself, this is the one that's a little bit narrower. And I don't want to over trim. But looks like this. Okay. Looks like that's going to do it. Yes. Let's get some ink. It's so pretty. So pretty. It's my favorite, I think, of the collection. This is a Fussy Cutter's Dream collection. There are so many flowers to fussy cut, and I'm sure I'm going to wind up doing that for the cover. I just haven't gotten to it yet, and fussy cut some flowers inside too. But I'll do that as part of the embellishment process. And I keep promising that I'll do more of that in my videos, but I just can't right now. There's just too much chaos in my house, and it takes too long. Once I get a little bit more caught up on my projects, I'll do my best to try to include those process videos. But for now, I'm just anxious to get some more content out because I've been so backed up, or I am so backed up. Okay. I promise I'll get to it. Okay, so now this is the right height. So now we just need to figure out the width. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to mark it on the top and bottom. Very good. I mentioned it, but I'll mention it again. Oh, no, I didn't. This is from the 8x8 collection pack. So this is the smaller scale pattern, and I chose it because this is such a narrow panel. This would be the 8x8. So you can see the size of the flowers are a little bit bigger. Actually, that's upside down. But these two flowers would be the same. So I chose the smaller, tighter scale. So this is from the 8x8 collection pack. I'll try to remember to go over that in the walkthrough too, because I know some people can build it just based on the walkthrough. You don't have to go through the tutorial. You just have enough experience that you can just look at the panel and know what to do. So I will try to cover that in the walkthrough. Okay, so look how pretty that looks. That looks so pretty. These all just pull together so nicely. Okay, so now we still have the inside left and right to cover. And here's what I'm planning. I'm planning on using stripes and solids. I think that's too busy, so we're gonna use a solid. I wish I had a green stripe, but I don't. It doesn't come with a green stripe. So the first thing I wanna do is try to decide, do I want it to be catty corner with the stripes on top and bottom and solids, or that's the other option. What to do, guys? What are your thoughts? The other pattern, let me see if I've got a piece cut. No, I don't. Is we could pull this pattern back in, but I think it might be too much. Too matchy, as I like to say. We do have the gingham print, but oh, you know what we have? I forgot about this one. We have the butterfly, so that's another option. I'm gonna cut a strip and let's take a look at it. Okay. So that's an option too. I think I kind of like it. What do you guys think? Or we could even just do a full piece. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a full piece, and then I think I'm going to run a stripe down the middle. Let's see. I'm going to cut off an inch. Let's take a look. Okay. I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, that's it. That's the look I want. So we're going to use, we need another 4-inch strip and a 4-inch strip. 2 and 1. Shoot. Okay. And then I cut a 1-inch strip and I promptly dropped it. There we go. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. Let me organize a little bit. Got too much papers everywhere. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I like that. So I'm gonna fold this over for the moment. We're gonna focus on this one. So we need to trim this to size. Okay, that should be the right height. And it is. Now we just need to get it the right width. I'm glad I remembered I had the butterflies. Okay, that's done. Let's fold that over and come over to this side. Okay. I'm gonna set that strip aside for a second. Okay. All right. Well, I feel like I've been gone for so long. I feel a little bit like a stranger. Oh, you know what else I'm gonna do? I mentioned I'm gonna work on the little girl from Stamperia. And the other thing I'm going to work on is I designed a second project for Home Sweet Home, which is going to be kind of like a companion project. It's going to be roughly the same size as the recipe box, but it's going to be a little gift box, and it's super cute. And I am going to cover it with the paper that I had left over from the first project. So if you do both projects, you'll use the whole DCE. So it's really cute. I'm anxious, and it'll work with a lot of different collections. It's going to be cute. I got some little gift items to put inside the box so I can show you what it would look like filled. And I'm kind of excited to work on that. That one's going to go pretty quick, and it might actually come out between Fairy Wings and Little Girl. Not sure. Okay, now I've got these two strips, and I'm not going to lay these down yet until I'm ready to come back and embellish, because I don't know how I want to do these. They're definitely going to be on this page somewhere. I just don't know how. So for the moment, I'm going to close them up inside. And they're 1-inch strips, by the way, just 1-inch strips. And I will figure out how to lay those in when I come back to embellish the rest of page 8. So that's it for page 8. I'm excited. I like the way this turned out, and I'm loving this as a closure. So if you don't have the die, you might want to consider getting it. I really am enjoying it, and I have used some of the other elements in the book during the embellishment phase. There's like wings. These are some of the other items in here. Sorry, my dog's going crazy. I've used the butterfly, and then in the tag, in the policy envelope, there's also these frames and borders, and I've used this frame too. So I'm kind of using bits and pieces from both the tag and pocket and the policy envelope. And I mentioned that earlier, but I'll just keep trying to remind you. And both of these there's links in the description if you guys are interested in getting those dies. But if you already have them, great. Now you know you can use them in your album. So thanks everybody for tuning in. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create. When we get back together again, we're going to install our pages and finish up the rest of the album. So I think on the next video, we'll just do the installation real quick, and then I'm going to create a separate video that just does the cover. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you soon.